What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Monday, March 24th, 2025, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 16:22 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East and from here in the US. So we just had a US presidential Doomsday plane fly to a U.S. Doomsday bunker in Colorado. So an E-4B Night Watch took off from Offutt Air Base, which is the home of U.S. Strategic Command in Omaha, Nebraska, and flew to Colorado Springs, which is where Cheyenne Mountain is located. That's a massive Doomsday bunker underneath a 5,000-foot tall mountain, and that's also where NORAD headquarters is located. And then it flew back, and this was sometime in the afternoon, so it flew to Cheyenne Mountain from Offutt Air Base, and then it flew back to Offutt Air Base. So most likely some kind of VIP was dropped off, maybe the president, maybe the vice president, maybe the defense secretary. Okay, but this is very, very serious, because we're also hearing that apparently 3 U.S. Air Force B-2 stealth bombers were heard communicating with ground stations in the Pacific and near the Indian Ocean. Okay, so this means that we have 3 B-2 stealth bombers crossing the Pacific Ocean. And what's also concerning about this Doomsday plane going to the Doomsday bunker is that this afternoon we also heard 3 B-2 stealth bombers communicating with ground stations while they were flying over the Pacific. Okay, so 3 U.S. stealth bombers are now flying over the Pacific, most likely heading to Diego Garcia, which is a secret base in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and that's where the U.S. launches strikes on Middle Eastern targets from, okay, with bombers. That's what they did during the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. They had stealth bombers in Diego Garcia that would fly into Iraq and Afghanistan and conduct precision strikes. So potentially the U.S. is getting ready to use the stealth bombers either against Iran or the Houthis or both, okay? And in addition to this, earlier this afternoon, there was another Houthi missile launched at Israel, okay? So the Houthis launched another missile at Israel, and it was intercepted. It was flying towards Tel Aviv. Remember, I warned you guys over the weekend that the Houthis were going to start targeting the airport, the Ben Gurion International Airport. Initially, the Houthis were targeting the ships in the Red Sea. Seems like now they're going to change their tactics and focus on the Ben Gurion Airport. Let me just play a little clip from the Tel Aviv region just a few hours ago. So air raid sirens were blaring, and thank God that the Israelis shot down that missile, but this is the 5th missile launched by the Houthis directly at Israel. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this emergency alert, which is my Patreon account. Check out my Patreon account for priority access to all of these emergency alerts, red alerts, and breaking news updates for just $3 a month. You can access all of these updates with 0 advertisements, okay? You don't have to watch ads before the video or after or in the middle, okay? Also, I post my updates first to Patreon before I post them to YouTube. So many times my video uploads are delayed by 30 minutes to an hour or sometimes more, because YouTube has to do checks every time I post an update, but Patreon doesn't do that, so the update is posted right away. So $3 a month, no ads, priority access to my emergency alerts, patreon.com/NYPrepper, and the link is in the description below this video. And in addition to the presidential Doomsday plane, we also had 3 B-52 nuclear bombers airborne over the continental United States, over Arkansas and Louisiana this afternoon. And we also had a Cobra Ball flying in North Dakota, which is a special plane that can detect and track the trajectory of missiles. Now, in addition to all of this, we also have some indications that Russia is planning to launch Oreshniks. So if you don't remember what the Oreshnik is, it's a 2-stage IRBM, intermediate range ballistic missile, that Russia developed. It's basically a medium range nuke, okay? And they launched a conventional version at Ukraine last fall. And earlier this morning at around 6 a.m., all of Ukraine lit up under an air raid alert, and there were numerous Ukrainian telegram channels stating that Russia was preparing to launch an Oreshnik. Okay, now I have some other concerning stuff to share with you. So this afternoon and last night, we've had encrypted voice traffic on the primary Russian nuclear war frequency, the buzzer. So let me just play a clip for you. You'll hear the buzzing tone, which is the normal channel marker for the buzzer, and then you'll hear like these short bits of like static. It almost sounds like static, but it's not. It's actually encrypted voice data, okay? Okay, so that was just a little bit of encrypted voice. So the Russians are transmitting encrypted voice on their primary nuclear war frequency. And then this was from last night. And then in addition to that, there was also some encrypted data going over the buzzer as well. So guys, get prepared. Things are spiraling out of control. And the Iranian Ayatollah Ahmad Khatami, speaking during Friday prayers in Tehran, issued a stark warning to the U.S. and European powers, declaring that Iran will wipe them off the face of history. Wow. And the U.S. National Security Advisor said that the U.S. wants a full dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program, telling CBS News yesterday that Iran must abandon its nuclear program completely or there will be consequences. And we know that the U.S. has given Iran a 2-month deadline. And we're going to be moving up to 3 aircraft carrier strike groups into the Middle East within that 2-month deadline. And now we're moving 3 stealth bombers into the region. And we have a U.S. presidential Doomsday plane going to a Doomsday bunker. We have the Russians transmitting encrypted voice and encrypted data on their primary nuclear war frequency. Guys, something big is about to go down, okay? So get prepared, and the Houthis are continuing to strike Israel with missiles. And Iran is building 2 more nuclear reactors in the Bushehr reactor area near the Persian Gulf. Apparently Russia is involved in the construction, and the project will be completed in 4 to 5 years. And Iran's IRGC released a video showing a new air defense system. They said that the system has the capability to destroy naval targets up to 600 kilometers away. And Iran's IRGC also stated that they unveiled new missile systems on 3 strategic islands in the Persian Gulf, specifically in the Strait of Hormuz, saying that they can target nearby enemy bases, vessels, and assets, according to Iran's state media. The weapons were deployed on the Greater Tunb, the Lesser Tunb, and the Abu Musa near the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so the Strait of Hormuz is a globally vital shipping lane, and now the Iranians have deployed missiles there. Okay, so what they're going to do is when the U.S. strikes the nuclear sites in Iran, they're going to retaliate by going after the ships and also potentially the oil fields in Saudi Arabia. And the IRGC Navy Brigadier General said that if a battle breaks out, the enemy will be hit from where he least expects it. And during demonstrations in Turkey recently, the Israeli embassy was set on fire. And apparently Russia could attack Lithuania as early as this fall, and that this could be our last peaceful summer, according to a German historian by the name of Neitzel. He said, "We see that Russia has announced large-scale exercises in Belarus. We see strong fear in the Baltic countries that during these exercises Russian troops may cross the border, and we see that perhaps NATO's fifth article, at least for the United States, may cease to operate. Deterrence is weakening," he noted. He also noted that Europe was not ready for a war with Russia, and that Germany's military needs major reforms, including addressing an issue with major shortages in ammunition. He cited several factors that determine whether there will be a war in Europe, including how NATO generally reacts, what role the President of the U.S. plays, what role the Europeans play, and whether peace in Ukraine is achieved in any form. In his opinion, Putin will not attack other European countries as long as he is at war in Ukraine. Okay, so if there's a peace deal in Ukraine, this historian believes that Putin will turn his attention to the Baltics. Okay, once he can freeze the front lines in Ukraine, he can turn his attention to the Baltics. And Ukraine used their long-range Neptune missile for the first time against a military target in Crimea, according to Zelensky's advisor commission. Zelensky reported also that Ukraine used the long-range Neptune against a Russian oil refinery. So they used it twice already. Okay, so it looks like once in Crimea and then once somewhere deep inside of Russia. That is huge news, guys. Okay, Ukraine now has a long-range cruise missile. Okay, 600-mile range on this missile. And the president of Ukraine said that the meeting between Ukrainian and U.S. delegations in Saudi Arabia was constructive and beneficial, with progress made on key issues in his evening address on March 23rd. And North Korea said that growing U.S.-South Korean military cooperation represents a nuclear war experiment. Wow. And North Korea said on Friday that it had test-launched new anti-aircraft missiles as its military threatened unspecified grave steps against the U.S. and South Korea over their joint military drills that it views as an invasion rehearsal. The official Korean Central News Agency said that leader Kim Jong-un oversaw the tests on Thursday and called the missiles involved another major defense weapons system for North Korea. Okay, so new anti-air missiles being tested in North Korea. And there has been a noticeable increase in refueler aircraft deployments to the Pacific. Very interesting, and that could be related to those stealth bombers that we heard this afternoon flying over the Pacific. And the IDF said that thousands of Israeli troops are preparing to join military operations in Gaza. Armored vehicles of the 36th Division were seen at a staging ground in southern Israel. And Russian telegram channels are confirming the capture of the village of Demidovka in Belgorod by Ukrainian forces. So the Ukrainians have counterattacked in the Kursk area and have gone after Demidovka. Okay, very interesting. And the U.S. is going to ask Russia to return Ukrainian children as a confidence-building measure, according to the U.S. National Security Advisor. And several Houthi field commanders and senior members of a missile unit were eliminated in U.S. strikes over the weekend. And what's interesting is, remember, everybody was saying that the Ukrainian forces were encircled in Kursk and that they were about to be destroyed. Well, looks like that didn't happen, and now they're counterattacking in Belgorod. And European allies are reportedly discussing the introduction of 2 peacekeeping missions in Ukraine after the end of the war, according to the Italian newspaper La Repubblica. In particular, the idea is to form the first peacekeeping contingent under the UN. It will consist of troops from India, Brazil, Indonesia, and Saudi Arabia, so neutral countries. These soldiers will be deployed on the Russian-Ukrainian border. According to La Repubblica, the military from the Coalition of the Willing, those are the European countries that are interested in helping enforce the peace deal, will control the borders between Ukraine and the EU. It is expected that these will be soldiers from Great Britain, France, Germany, Canada, and Italy. The publication adds that none of the countries that participated in the summits in London and Paris have ever directly rejected their participation in the peacekeeping contingent. They will mainly be located near the territories of Poland, Slovakia, and possibly Hungary. That is the military on the ground, but not in the areas directly involved in the war. Okay, so they're going to deploy European troops on the border of Ukraine and the EU in Poland, Slovakia, and Hungary. And then there's going to be neutral countries like India, Brazil, Indonesia, and Saudi Arabia with troops along the border of Ukraine and Russia. Very interesting. And the Israeli Security Cabinet approved the recognition of 13 Israeli settlements in the West Bank. And China is considering joining a future peacekeeping mission in Ukraine, the German newspaper Welt reported, citing sources in Brussels. And Tokyo is reportedly considering deploying long-range missiles to Kyushu, a move that analysts say could deny Chinese ships access to the Pacific. The missiles to be deployed are an upgraded version of Japan's Type 12 surface-to-ship guided missile with an extended range of 620 miles that could put both North Korea and the Chinese coast within reach from Kyushu. And Italy suspended Starlink purchase negotiations with SpaceX, and the FBI is warning of nationwide attacks on Tesla vehicles and dealerships and charging stations. Threats include arson, gunfire, and vandalism. And the U.S. Energy Secretary will join a high-profile U.S. delegation traveling to Greenland next week. According to the New York Times, from March 27th to the 29th, the U.S. Second Lady and National Security Advisor will also be visiting. And France is reportedly interested in buying Polish mine-laying systems and shoulder-fired anti-air missiles. These are the Piorun man-pads and the Baobab mine-laying vehicles. Each Baobab vehicle is equipped with 6 mine-launching modules, each containing 20 barrels, capable of holding 5 mines per barrel, allowing for the deployment of up to 600 anti-tank mines before reloading. The system is capable of deploying a minefield up to 1,800 meters long within approximately 22 minutes, with mine dispersion ranging from 30 to 90 meters. Wow. Okay, so very interesting that France is interested in buying Polish mine-laying vehicles. Okay, are they going to start laying mines in France or in Ukraine? Very strange. And it's also interesting that France is interested in buying the Polish Stinger missiles. Okay, these are shoulder-fired missiles that can take down fighter jets and cruise missiles. Okay, and these Polish Stinger missiles, they're called Piorun, are some of the best in the world. Okay, one of the best in the world. And they've already been sold to the US, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, Norway, Georgia, and Slovakia. Poland also donated a large number of Piorun to Ukraine in the first weeks of the war, where it was used to shoot down Russian helicopters, jets, and drones. Okay, so they actually say that the Polish Piorun is better than the US Stinger missile. It's considered to be the best in the world. And it's very interesting that France wants to buy all these missiles and mine-laying vehicles for some reason. It's like they're getting ready for a Russian invasion. And a partisan group in Russia damaged a railway line in Russia's Smolensk Oblast, disrupting the transport of military cargo towards Bryansk and Kursk. And finally, I wanted to show you guys something interesting that was discovered under the pyramids in Egypt. So apparently some scientists using special radar and ground penetrating radar were able to discover underground passages and an underground structure beneath the pyramids in the Giza Plateau in Egypt. Okay, so what you're looking at here is a computer model showing what the scientists found, and you can see at the top here the pyramid, and then underground you see these like 8 tubes that go down, and then apparently those tubes, they're shafts, they go down towards some kind of underground structure. Okay, and then here's another model showing the 8 passages, or whatever you want to call them, ventilation shafts. I'm not sure what they are, but they go down into this underground structure here. Okay, the newly discovered structures are connected to pathways that lead below the surface and are believed to expose hidden rooms and wells underneath the 4,500-year-old world wonder. Electromagnetic signals were turned into phonic data that unveiled larger infrastructure leading down thousands of feet underground. Wow. The 8 large vertical structures, theorized to be wells or shafts, are thought to extend over 6,000 feet across and 2,000 feet below ground. Absolutely insane. That's a mile wide and half a mile down, or a third of a mile down. That's insane. Researchers didn't reveal the use of the larger structures that stretch below ground zero, but planned for further analysis and possible excavation to verify the artificial nature of the structures. The project used 2 satellites 420 miles up in space to send down radar signals that photographed the pyramids. Data was compiled into images to create a rough copy of what is believed to be below the pyramids, including the 8 wells. The hollowed structures consist of spiral pathways leading down further underground. The group used the data to make a rough 3D model estimating what is believed to be hidden from the world's eye. So they used some kind of ground penetrating radar. This is absolutely insane. And I will be monitoring this development and updating you guys accordingly. I might be going live tonight, so make sure you have your notifications turned on. Download my free app from the Google Play Store. Also follow me on Telegram, Twitter, and Rumble. The links are in the description below this video. Also check out my Patreon. It's only $3 a month and you get access to all of these breaking news updates with no ads. Okay, no ads in the middle of the video, $3 a month, and you get priority access. So I upload all my videos to Patreon first before I post them to YouTube. So until later on, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.